Welcome to the Heartwork Podcast, where we delve into stories, struggles, and triumphs of entrepreneurship, leadership, and personal growth. I'm Dr. Sara.
And I'm Dr. Marisa. We're here to guide practitioners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and those just navigating the complexities of life on a journey of discovery that explores the dance between passion and strategy, heart and hustle.
With candid conversations, insightful interviews, and plenty of laughs, get ready to uncover how leading with heart can transform your business and life. Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of the Heartwork Podcast. Y'all, it's just Marisa and I today. We're going to be back. We aren't interviewing anybody today. We just get to fun and flow and also talk about some relatable things that happened to us this week. Because one of the things that I know to be true, we both have done a lot of this work to get, not together, but separately, but obviously we get to talk about it together. And heart work, even as you become the most healthy, the most healing, you're doing all the things, does not mean things are not going to trigger you and potentially come up and cause fear, cause maybe some insecurity, some doubt, cause some of these things to occur. And honestly, that's exactly what happened to me. I was literally sending a Marco Polo to you on Tuesday, I think it was, and was literally saying all these things. And so to just give some framework, within our business, we had a beautiful month last month. We've actually had a really beautiful year so far this year when it comes to just revenue, profits. Also at the same time, how we were structuring some team things in our office. And it's just been really, really awesome and really beautiful. And I had celebrated that. And then if anybody knows the world of seeing a lot of families in a service-based industry, a lot of families take vacations in June and July because they're traveling. And it was just a day where all of a sudden I had looked at some of our numbers and we had a lower volume that we've seen probably in 5 years. And it was one of those things that just triggered me in a moment. And I was I went down the cycle of well, if I go down this volume, then we need to do, if I have it be now all of a sudden I'm seeing only 400 people a week or whatever, which that's not the case, then I'm going to need to change this space. Then why did I ever expand? Why did I don't need all this team. I'm going to have to fire people. I'm going to have to change all these things. It's I went through this crazy spiral of all the what ifs. And I was literally communicating to Marisa on Marco Polo, the fun aspects of just girlhood and real lifehood a little bit. And I came inside after I had sent this message, and my husband asked me, he's how's your day going? And I'm I will be completely honest right now. I just went through a little fear spiral and I just need a couple moments. And I went and took a couple moments and just spent some time. Just honestly, it was more just a couple of breaths and just intention with myself. Didn't have anything crazy where I'm had any of these major words of wisdom spoken to me, but it was just kind of I needed to recenter and just kind of hey, those are all fucking lies. And that's not my truth for my life. And at the same time, what is the truth? And then after that day, there was kind of this beautiful rhythm of understanding that my fear does not have to limit my capacity at the same time, right? Fears do not limit any type of capacities. Your doubt don't determine your destiny. And this is something that I just felt I had, God just kind of continued to affirm. He's you have something inside of you that has the opportunity to continue to enrich and give so much to this world, while also these things popping up are purposeful for understanding of your continued healing. And so I was sharing with my coach, Pablo, this yesterday and just kind of sharing what happened and how I processed and healed through it and working through it. And for one, the cool part, if this would have happened to me even a year ago, I probably would have taken a couple more days or even longer period of time than just that 10 minutes. So it was cool because that journey itself, the way I interacted with it, the way I healed through it and or just even processing it, I haven't healed through it, but just I'm processing through it is a lot different than I was even a year ago. So that even just shows, especially for anybody that's going through a healing of journey and healing of process, the way you interact with moments like this will show you opportunity to see how far you've come and or what is happening in your life. And so anyway, I just wanted to bring up for the sake of, I think this potentially can relate to a lot of people. He asked me some questions that just to continue to ask myself and to journey in, because I think regardless, triggers are going to happen and they're going to come again for a mirror reflection at the same time. And so he asked me, are you So I'm going to give you the three and then I'm going to talk about them. So are you chasing an idol? And is this why this is triggering you? Am I flowing in my thing and understanding that what my thing is true to me and I'm not trying to chase somebody else's thing at the same time? And also at the same aspect, the number three, potentially, am I being distracted by things that are keeping me from the main thing or the vision for my life? And when he asked me those questions, I was like, well, I think all three of them are there, honestly. So I think there's pieces of all three, whether or not it's actually one or the other. And so as we were talking about it, so for the aspect of and being just an idol, chasing an idol, this was actually kind of an interesting one because it was, for me at least, the way I reflected to it. I had just said the previous month that we had one of our better months we've had in over like 2 years when it comes to like profit margin. And what an idol will do is what he was telling me and talking to me about is it creates an attraction to something that will basically tie you to your worth and to your identity. It's saying that that thing that you're looking for that you just declared was the best thing. Now your ego and your system is like, okay, cool. This thing is now something I need to chase. I need to find. And an idol is going to give it to you. But then also that idol is then going to say, okay, I'm going to strip it away so that your system will feel like, okay, now I'm not worthy, but then it's going to give it to you again. So it's going to keep going this like back and forth. You'll eventually see it pop up again, and it's going to go in this like crazy cycle that it wants you to continue to chase it. And then through the cycle of that, and this is where I just know this to be true because I've had to work through this too. And so I can identify this because it's such my performance, my like result-driven nature. The cycle makes you sacrifice something, and the sacrifice is your life. You will sacrifice so many things to just chase this idol. And for me, when I was declaring like this was the best month, it was like it's declaring that I need to have the best month repeatedly over and over and over again. It doesn't allow for any flow or any grace in life and seasons and all that type of stuff. And so the other cool part about just that in general is like the idol is shallow. The kingdom has deep roots. The kingdom is where the roots go down before even fruit comes out. And so like understanding like the rhythm of, again, just seasons and idols and all that. So that's where that one just really hit for me. And the other two, my biggest thing when I was just listening to the other two is like, what is my main thing? It's really easy. I think Pablo's actually talked to you about this too, Marisa, about the difference between your potential and your limits. And when we have a potential in our life and we have this calling on our life, it's really easy sometimes to think, well, okay, over there, even if you're chasing a limit or an idol, or if you're chasing something else, you think that's shiny over there. If you step over that limit, you're stepping outside of your potential at the same time. So understanding where my flow is and what God is calling me into, it's like there's seasons of things that are happening in my life that are not necessarily I'm not just staying in the same lane that I was 6 months ago, that I was even a year ago, 5 years ago. And so being able to say, okay, like where this is, I have some fun things that are happening. It's like there's some cool things going on, but things may not look the same in my current state of business. And am I okay with that? And then am I being distracted? Y'all, that's really easy to fall victim to, I should say. And it's just easy to like see sometimes what other people are doing, or somebody says this works, so why not do this? And I definitely think that's something that's for me, just knowing, because I can have my head down a lot. That is 100% a place to where I can be very eager to chase what I know is successful potentially for somebody else versus is it actually, again, my lane and where I'm meant to go. And I love the statement that he gave is like, when you come and when you do things from your potential, you will never be able to outgive God. And as you stay in that potential, more momentum comes into your life because it's also flowing from your life. It's not flowing from a place of you being able to like grip it so tight and wrangle the fruit out of it at the same time. So these are all things that he posed to me. I am still navigating and processing it. It's just, I feel like there are pieces of all of it that came out within this week. And it was, kind of wild. When something triggers it, it gives you the opportunity to like ask more deep questions versus like, okay, well, what's the fear? Like, I love that where it's like having somebody in your life that asks you those questions where it's like, okay, cool. Like the fear came out now, but are you actually chasing an idol? Or are you looking for things that are distracting you? because that's going to be part of the reason why some of these triggers are coming. Cray cray.
Yeah. I also think too, like, not for nothing, but you have also made so much change in your business over the last after your expansion, and then even just with more focus on, not that you weren't focused on peds or prenatal in the past, but just even a bigger heart, even a bigger focus, an expanded focus on that. And also just diving in deeper as you guys have continued to grow and scale. You've shared this before on the podcast about finances and about the fact that, like, yeah, expansion also comes with an expanded overhead. And then when we are so used to the vision of what our practice was, which is also very typically abundant, like, you don't go to expand while your practice isn't abundant, right? So we go from this abundance, we built. And then we're like, oh my gosh, how are we going to sustain this? Like, we have to go bigger. Like, we're just growing. Yeah. And then you do it. And then you're diving into things because your team is growing, and maybe there's changes going on in the world and the socioeconomic climate. Maybe there's change going on with your team dynamics and the way that you're scaling and structuring pay for them and calling them into higher leadership. Maybe there's change going on with the fact that you know that your business needs to be sustainable in its expanded state now. And so we also do other things, right? One of those things is getting out of insurance. Insurance doesn't cover care for kids and prenatal in the same way that we're caring for them in that. And so it's hard when you're taking one practice model and, like, the team and the one associate doc, or even just you when you were solo, and, like, remembering the rhythm of those days and the volume you were seeing and what you were collecting with that overhead compared to, like, what you're doing now, because they are almost two totally different practices. And even just in this rhythm, you shared you're, like, restructuring some finances and just working through some of that stuff on the patient facing side of things. So sometimes when we're in the middle of figuring out what that looks like and making that change, then when we have something that's happening in our practice world that we actually have no control over, like, how many years have we gone by saying that summer and July is the typically slowest month? Now, I don't want to say that out loud to just, like, condemn every single July, right?
Right.
But traditionally, over, like, stat tracking, July just seems to be one of those down months because people are traveling more and doing more family vacations and not around, right? So it's like that was a factor just in general, because you have evidence of that with people not making appointments because they're traveling, or not scheduling new appointments because they're traveling, and also because you're restructuring your team. Like, you're training your team, like, we've got maternity leaves and all the things happening. But if that coincides with something that we're changing in the practice, and something that we're changing in the practice that also is a trigger for us, like money mindset and finances, and not feeling like, oh my gosh, how are we going to keep up with this? How do we stay sustainable? We're going to associate those two things together. Or it's very easy to associate those and be like,
Right.
wait, should I have changed that? I shouldn't change that. This should be lower, or that should be higher. Like, this shouldn't have happened. But it's just the storm. It's not that one created the other. Like, just because July is a down month and a lot of people are traveling doesn't mean that what you're structuring in your business isn't going to be fruitful. But sometimes when we're in those downspins, like, that's all we can think about, because it's like, well, what's in my control to do? And the thing that's in your control that you're doing is changing the structure of how you have people exchange for value of care, and how much team you have on the other side of it, and how much overhead is present because of this beautiful built practice that was there to sustain the volume that you were continuing to see and growing into. And then life is like, okay, we're going to make this thing happen to force you to face, like, did you think about if it changes and it doesn't continue in an upward trajectory and life just looks a little different? How are you going to navigate that? It's literally calling you in to solve a new problem.
Right. I think it's also so fun because fun, fun in a way, right? To where it really gets you the invitation to ask, like, is this where you find your vision? Like, I know for me and you, like, we were a part of groups prior to opening that were very volume based. Like, we see within the chiropractic world, some of the top volume, really, when you think about just like practices, I mean, we are probably part of the, like, top 5 to 10% when it comes to, like, how many people we see on a weekly basis,
Right.
comparable to, like, a boutique style. However, in that journey at the same time, that does not always mean that we were incredibly profitable, especially as you start to scale.
Yes.
That was the thing that I started to find is like, okay, as I'm scaling, how do I actually make this business profitable outside of just seeing high volume? Because then you run into this place of when you see high volume, you want to see a lot of people for affordable, right? So that they can receive the care while also you come kind of into this dichotomy. And this is what we've had to navigate of if I want to see more volume, I have to add more doctors. I have to be able to add more team. That increases my payroll. And so like then I have to have more volume so like I can
Yeah.
increase that. So like it's just this like repeatable thing. And so as the again just the CEO of a company, it's like you're making all these beautiful decisions to be able to not only support your team and also to support the growing beautiful trends of your company and where that's going. And I've had to like ask that question a lot of like, okay, well, do I see myself seeing 1,500 people a week? I don't actually think that's something I ever want to do anymore. That was something I wanted originally, but that's not where I want to go. And if we do that, then I would want it to be in a separate satellite locations, not just in one location.
Right.
And but that's like something again, just with anybody having to navigate, it's something I had to navigate for what my truth is and for what the vision of my life is and where does that come into alignment. And like you said, these things pop up for opportunities to say, okay, well, let's actually give you a mirror. Let's actually ask where you're making these decisions from. Let's actually get you to understand, like, are you making these decisions from a place of ego, from doubt, from insecurity, chasing something, or is it actually in alignment with what you feel like you're being drawn to, called to, and where your enrichment and your impact can continue to like literally live and soar for your community?
That's why I feel like people that are in service-based industries and professions, like we deal with these false identities a lot of like people pleasing and finding a lot of worth in what we do and how we perform and how well the results are, right? And how like given that is that of course it like naturally unfolds as a higher volume practice because you get that fill of like serving so many and like that just fills your heart because you and two like in our world like we want to see individuals thrive like we are providing health back to families and individuals and we know that if that helps them that helps the seven other closest people next to them right and it's this beautiful ripple effect but there is this rhythm around like you can work to build that high volume practice, but there will come that tipping point where you're either going to stay high volume and make no money
Mhm.
and have no room for give in in the natural rhythm of the day to day, or you are going to have a smaller volume practice that can still be impactful. And also, why does one person need to have the highest volume practice? Why can't we just continue to put out other doctors to open their practices and serve alongside to continue to facilitate communities? Like, why do we feel like the model has to be over 1,000 visits in an area where there's other offices that might also then be competing for 1,000 visits a week and doing all this stuff? Because again, you're basing the metric on the number versus the impact. But sometimes I feel like we can trick ourselves into thinking that impact is a low number and or the impact that we're trying to give does not equate to the finances that we have to impact our own lives and our own teams as well.
Mm.
Like we're tricked into thinking that, well, impact only comes from seeing a high amount of people. When in fact, if you have profit, one, so if you protect that from the get-go, right? So if you know what that is and you continue to scale that as you grow versus keeping it the same for long. And so many businesses do this, right? They revisit their pricing fee and schedule on a yearly basis, yeah? If you protect that profit, then whatever happens in life, or if you decide to add a higher ticket team member, like for us, another doctor, that profit protection is there. And you know what you need to do to be able to grow that to the percentage that you typically want to keep it at to sustain. And if life happens and we don't see as many people, like there's still the people that we're going to see. Is that going to protect our profit and our overhead, right? And then do we need to make changes? Do we need to change locations? Do we need to change this, change that? But it's hard too because in a business, you're typically signing leases for longer periods of time. Like there's literally an endless amount of things, excuses, false identities that come through, like all of this stuff that's just going to, I don't know, pick and like do like a mind katana in your brain and just have the capacity to like think about a lot. And so I
Totally.
think it's also just, again, it's also the invitation to continue to do your work and also continue to have other people around you that are going on the journey with you or have done it a few steps ahead of you to know how to help you and pull you through it. I would love to see as many freaking people as our office can hold and have a giant ass chiropractic compound. If that is my reality in a future like year or in my lifetime, then great. But I have to be able to also have the financial backing to be able to do that. Or if we have a nonprofit and are giving away care to underserved families, I have to have the margins to be able to give back to the community in the way that we want to, right? Like there's so many different ways that you can make impact that doesn't involve giving away the farm and that being the only reason why you're doing what you're doing. Or the thing that triggers you the most when you see it ebb and flow up and down, because the people that come to see you, the amount of people that come to see you, and the amount of financial exchange that they're willing to give you can be the two most variable factors in your business. Always, right? Your customers, your sales, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, as any of us navigate it, it goes back to the place of like, well, what do you identify with? I mean, somebody might be listening to this and they're not identifying with any aspect of volume,
Right.
like, but they also may be identifying with the place of like, well, I'm not making any money because I'm not seeing anybody either, or this is hard, or I don't know how to raise a team, or whatever it may be. And it still then comes down to like, okay, well, when these things trigger you and when they come up, it's like asking those questions of like, what and where is this and why is this happening, so that you can have a clear picture of it. And I think that's the coolest part for me is like, even like by me talking to you and sending you a Marco Polo, like half of it is like girlfriends talking and just sharing instances in life. Well, also I know I can share this like vulnerable space that not everybody can also relate to, and not everybody can also hear. And at the same time, like, I can just be this authentic version of myself. But then I also have coaches in my life that I can go to and say, hey, like, what's actually happening? How can you support me? And what are you seeing that I don't see? And to be able to support asking you that question of like, well, are you chasing something? Are you actually doing these choices, making these choices out of alignment? Are you looking and you're trying to distract yourself? So it's like, those people in your life are incredibly important to continue to aid you and support you, to just give space to see neutral things around for you too.
No, I think that's an important point is like, if you're also not totally clear on your vision, it's so easy to get swept with the currents in whatever way that you're feeling like this new shiny thing is pulling and taking you. And it's really easy to, with so many, my God, we've talked about this so many times. The only thing that ever stays the same is the fact that nothing stays the same. Like that's the only constant, right? So if you're going to try something, and it's the same thing with like trying a new diet or eating different foods or working out, right? Like the results aren't always right there. But if we're in it for a week or a month and we're like, oh, I'm not really seeing the change with Pilates, I'm going to try CrossFit. Or, oh, I'm not really seeing, I'm feeling super sore, I'm going to try running. And we're just never giving ourselves the time to really sit with things. I think people can get trigger happy on decision-making processes versus really observing where not only like the fears can come up in times of transition or change, but also like, is it really truly your heart that's speaking to you, that's calling you into something? And is it a hell yes, right? Listen back to that episode. Or is it something we really just need to sit with and continue to observe before we really make a bigger decision about it?
Absolutely. I literally was just telling some of my clients, which is always so funny because I think we all go through things so that we can speak life into them, right? So like we have experience so that we can actually share and have insight. And I was actually sharing that exact sentiment of, if you are getting ready to make a decision, is it coming out of this frenzy, this stress? Are you feeling like it's coming out of a place of like unease versus taking a moment and actually taking a pause? And again, we've talked about this so many times, but when nudges are given to you and when you're given clarity for something, sometimes it doesn't always mean you need to take like drastic action in that moment. Sometimes it's taking a pause, taking a one tiny step that it's going to then give you the picture to like see a full plan versus pulling out this full plan of action right from the get-go. And truly, that's what we have been doing. That's what the crazy part is, when like, I think that's so silly to me sometimes. I fucking hate triggers because like, I feel like in the reality of it, like, I feel like I've been so in alignment with what my heart's been calling me into, the life that I feel like I'm leading, and like making strategic decisions and making them from a place of ease and rest and groundedness and peace, and just out of the knowing what's going to be healthy for us moving things forward. And so when it does come, that's where sometimes it's like, what the mother F? Why is this surprising? Right. So it's like it comes in a place of like, well, I feel like but again, we're all humans and we all have moments and we have things that are purposeful to be able to bring to the surface for us to continue to become healthier humans at the same time.
Right. And I think it also can depend too on like who you have along the journey with you, right? Like you've had team that's still been with you since you were in your initial space,
Hmm.
has walked through that process.
Yeah.
And now they're in your new space and there's new things to solve and new ways to make sure that your business is healthy and sustainable. And it can be hard when, again, like it's not just you then fighting against your own like thoughts that are coming up and fears that are maybe rearing their heads, but also that of your team, right? Like, are they in full alignment? Are they fully on board? Are they open to change? Are they willing to go to those places? Do they think about it in the same way that you're thinking about it? Like, are they problem solving with you or are they just bringing up obstacles that could come along, right? There's a difference between thinking of obstacles versus thinking of solutions for those
Mhm.
obstacles,
Right.
which can be really challenging.
Yep. I think they'll like that. I mean, not saying that we can't talk about that all day long because the place of being able to develop team, like
Yeah,
that's inviting them into the journey that we are also doing. And
exactly.
the journey to be able to get them to think and ask questions of clarity so that they can lead themselves and then lead the people that they're potentially getting the chance to be able to lead, not only just patient wise, but also within your team as you grow and you scale your business. So that itself is such a beautiful, beautiful thing. Like I'm so freaking proud of my team. Like it's so beautiful and so incredible. Like I just got actually whole messages this morning. We had one of our girls hit her 30-day. We just hired her, hit her 30-day check-in, and I don't do any of those anymore, which is so fun. And one of my other leaders does it. And she sent me this long ass email with all the stuff of just like so excited about this individual and these ideas of this other individual that brought to us for how she wants to add value and add to her role into this company. And that part is the like most like brilliant, exciting thing when you get to lead people that start to see things like that. And she like literally texted this morning, she's like, I just want to continue to fan this flame for her and like speak that life and that potential for her. If you're giving me permission to do that, I'm like, all day long, come on, let's go. Like you fan the flame, I'm here to support you as you're fanning that flame and we all will do it, So that's the most beautiful part. I think even in the midst of like crazy ideas or things, there's always so much positive to look at. And I think when you actually take a step back and you take a moment, like I'm sure you did it yesterday because I know you had a brilliant day and brilliant week this week, and we did our favorites at the end of the week. It's always just so wild to like hear like the stories and the laughter and the camaraderie and the culture that you're creating always kind of also brings it back to this place of, man, freaking, this is why we mother effing do what we do.
Totally. And I think that's also like, you have to keep that at the forefront, right? You have to keep the why. You have to keep the real
Mhm.
metrics of impact at the front because also too, Sarah, like not for nothing, but I think you're kind of shedding some of the things that were a part of like the old way that you structured freedom.
Mm.
And what's scary is that like it's like trimming. You're basically trimming. And sometimes when we step into different levels and we step into change, we're going to lose some along the way and shed some things that aren't meant to be at that next level. This is just an example, not saying that this has anything to do with team, right? But like sometimes the team that starts your practice isn't the team that scales your practice. Sometimes the way that you start with specials isn't the way that you do it later. Sometimes the stories and the credibility and the experience you have is going to be totally different as you continue to have stories and experiences later, right? The more tough cases you work with, the tougher cases show up on your doorstep. Like all of these things go. So as you create a framework around what you want, business, your life, the way you hold yourself in relationships, like anything that you do in life, go back to that train analogy. Like there will be times where people have to get off to allow for new to come on. And those pressure cooking times, those constriction times are really just so critical, because the more that pressure cooks, then the bigger the explosion. And it's in a way that's like aligning with where your heart's calling you to go to. But the in between can be fucking frightening and like so tear down, but it's literally chiseling you. Like it is calling you to face those fears, because it's like, this is going to show up. If it's not already showing up just face to face with you, other people are going to bring it to you. And you need to either have conviction with that and be like, understood, hear it, this is how I'm going to address it, or this is how we're moving through that and forward it, or it's going to crumble you, because again, then it's not actually something that's like in your soul that you want to move forward and move with. So as we have this conversation today, I think of a couple podcast episodes that we recorded that if you haven't listened to, like go back and listen to the train analogy, go back and listen like heart yes to hell yes, like go back and listen to like, is it a hell yes or a hell no episode? Take a moment to like dive in a little bit more. Go to the free self-love challenge, like download our free PDF that helps you connect with yourself and like find those pockets and areas that maybe we're not, reflecting the mirror on, maybe we're not shining the light on, and they've been kind of hankering. Because if we don't proactively seek those things, they're going to get thrown in our face at some point. So you get two choices, right? We get to sit and observe when things come up, but sometimes it's also calling into an opportunity to dive in and see what we find. So I would just encourage our audience to check out at least a couple of those ones, to go back if they're feeling resonance with this conversation, to help them really explore and navigate how they're processing through.
So thank you for joining us on another episode of the Heartwork Podcast. We hope today's conversation has inspired you to lead with heart in your business and life.
If you enjoyed this, subscribe so you never miss a release, rate our show, leave us a review, get on our VIP email list, and join our exclusive Facebook group, The Heartwork Life, to plug into our community and learn from us and other heart-led entrepreneurs on a weekly basis.
We look forward to chatting with you next time.
Bye!